And then it came the match where Kofi Kingston was wrestling Butch, who don't want to be called Butch anymore. It's too late now. That's all we can think of. We see that moop face, Pete Dunne. What is... he could play a caveman in a movie with no makeup. He's got an odd featured fucking face, doesn't he?
I don't know what that means.
With the contours of his face, much less the shadow of his smile.
An odd featured face.
It doesn't match his body, which is short and squat, but his face is long. And there's potentially more room between his chin and his fucking top of his head than there ought to be to make it, proportion correct. I don't know. And
I don't know.
He's a fucking midget caveman with a little Dickensian impish twist, and I don't know what's going on with this fucking guy.
I mean, that's the other thing. I know that they make it that he hates Butch. Butch was the better character than the caveman character.
Well, we hated the name Butch, but he looked, I hated the way
he looked like some little kid you would see on the streets of London that's like selling newspapers or throwing rocks or doing something bad,
Or being flipped a crown to go buy the biggest Christmas goose in the window. God, this is a fairly smart fucking show, isn't it? For the wrestling genre, at least. So nevertheless, they're having this match. And nobody really cares about that. And Kofi's having the problems with Woods, who's getting an attitude and has been for a long time. Talk about a slow cooking fucking goose. But then finally they do something where Butch gets on top of Kofi, and in the manner of a ground and pound, he starts pounding the shit out of the mat next to Kofi's head in plain sight. The worst I've ever seen, worse than that. At least
Dark Order.
Well, yeah, but there was 12 guys in the ring at that time. I'm not excusing doing it, but it was harder to see because there was so much more going on because there were 12 guys fighting all over the fucking place. But this was a single match. There wasn't anything else to shoot. Because I saw somebody on Twitter, so what's the cameraman's fault? What do you want Pete to do? Give Kofi a concussion? No, just learn to fucking work. Was this guy supposed to be this great worker from the British Isles or whatever the fuck?
How's it the cameraman's fault?
He should have. Some of these
should have shot the ceiling. Yeah, what the fuck?
Some of these marks, and I do not use that term with endearment, because the modern marks think that it's done with camera angles. And that, you got to expect at the live show, you're going to be able to see through it because they don't hide it with the camera angle. You fucking morons. We had live shows for 100 fucking years. Nobody did this shit. Point being, he was pounding the shit out of the mat, and what he was going for, and I don't know what was going through his mind when he was doing it, but what he was going for was he was trying to look like he was bringing his elbow down at the base of Kofi's neck. And it would look like, and I'm using the air finger quotation marks, but it would look like that he was really hammering the elbow into the back of the guy's neck, and he's really stopping himself by punching the mat. But he did it like a dozen times, just boom, 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 boom. And the longer he did it, the worse it looked, and the less care he was taking with it. So by the last couple, he was just punching the mat straight down. And we just had a talk, Brian, on whatever show we did last about guys throwing a punch, last couple of shows. Instead of punching a guy 6 times in the face while you're backing him up to the ropes to shoot him off and he can run so you can do a big move, and you're talking to him while you're punching him and he's listening to you instead of selling him, that's just caca. And the same thing applies here. If you can do something like this and work it proper where it doesn't look see-through, then bless you. But instead of doing it a dozen times in a row, draw back, follow through, and land it, boom, and let the guy register, draw back, follow through, and land it, boom, let the guy register. Dick Murdoch was a master at that, where every part of him was involved in something. If he was going to punch you in the face, if he grabbed your hair with his left hand and bent your head back so your face was exposed, and meantime, he's with his right hand drawing back behind him and making a fist so the people can see it. And he's cocking his right leg behind him so that when he leans back, you can tell he's really winding up for this thing. And when he would throw it, boom, with one snap, right a millimeter in front of your fucking head. And if you sold it, boom, and you would rock and you would go down. Instead of this phony looking bullshit that's just people are just scoffing at or overlooking because you're nobody anyway. So why do they don't care? But which is the better option? Make people remember one thing you did or for positive because it looks so good, or make people remember the dozen things you did that were so fucking phony. But that was the viral part of the program. And it certainly gave me a little bit of the rockin' pneumonia and the boogie woogie flu.
So he could do all the moves, you know. He can go in there and have a really good match with, who was it? Tyler Bate, I think, way back. We saw those matches. And he could do all the moves and keep up with all the modern guys. But when someone can't do something like that, is that bad training? Is that just not caring enough about something that should be an important part of a wrestler's repertoire, the punch?
Well, not even a punch, but just your work to not be so see-through. It's not bad training because I'm pretty sure in wrestling school, they never covered a spot. Okay, get the guy down on his fucking belly, face down, and just start hammering him like you're hammering him with elbows to the base of his fucking spine over and over. They probably never got to that when in wrestling school. This was something that he had come up with in his mind. He's trying to be creative. Not saying he should be cast off into the sun on a rocket ship. But goddamn, it was embarrassing if you care about the business. But in his mind, he was thinking, it will look like that I'm doing this if I do this. And it didn't remotely. But you ought to be able to see or tell if you have that much experience, if you've been in the ring that long, you ought to be able to cut something like that. I mean, when you're being given a big bump and it looks like shit and somebody's flinging you, sometimes when you're upside down in the air or whatever like that, you can't really tell how it looks. But if you're delivering blows to someone, you should be able to tell how it fucking looks, is what I'm saying. And somebody needs to maybe mention to him, and I bet you they did, take that one out unless, workshop it in practice or whatever, but take it out off of television. And see, that's another thing.
Don't work for the cameras, work for the arena.
Well, yeah, we'll work for both. See, that's the thing. If you're working for the arena, the cameras will pick it up. And you have to, but at the same time that the cameras are closer than most of the people in the arena. And see, that's the thing on house shows. Yeah, don't split the hair right down to the infinitive and take a chance on giving a guy a black eye because it needs to look so good, right? On the house shows, these guys are used to working in big buildings in front of a lot of people now, and you can't tell at some distance away. But on television, you need to tighten it up. It's not about the camera angles. That's what the previous production staff under Bucky Beaver was. Remember, the camera would cut with every move when it was supposedly landing.
Either that or it would zoom in and out.
Yes, because that was supposed to either make it look more frantic or you wouldn't be able to tell if they missed. And I know some guys, when they started doing that in the early days, that were insulted if they did it in their matches. Like, motherfucker, like my shit don't look good. You got to cut the camera, let the people see what I'm fucking doing. There was some resentment in some quarters. But no, the cameramen are not going to cover shit that whiffs and misses with their camera angles, because this is a live action, one take theater and around production, and they can't. They plan their camera angles for the entrances and the looks over the shoulders and the guy comes up behind the other guy, that type of thing. But not every goddamn step of the fucking match. That would be impossible.